In seemingly no time at all, Rocky Mountain Construction has turned themselves into one of the best roller coaster manufacturers in the business. They've built rides all over the world, but today let's focus on their coasters in particular that have been built on the west coast of the United States of America. There are 5 here I want to highlight, but before getting into the ranking, there is an important thing that I need to note. Namely this, I will not be including Stunt Pilot at Silverwood Theme Park in Eufaula, Idaho. This looks like an awesome independently owned amusement park, and this looks like the best coaster at that park. No fault of its own, I suspect that it would come in last place. I hope to ride this coaster next year, but until then, I can't speak from personal experience. That being said, I've experienced a ride very similar to Stunt Pilot, and you can find it at California's Great America, and it's our number 4 coaster, Railblazer at California's Great America. Stunt Pilot has a few extra seats on the train, 10 instead of 8, and has a few reprofiled elements because of it, but otherwise, these coasters are basically identical. Railblazer was the world's second RMC Raptor coaster, and the second extreme single rail coaster. It opened just a little bit after Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. With 1,800 feet of track, a height of 106 feet, a speed of 52 miles an hour, and 3 inversions. The stats aren't terribly impressive, but it's about what the ride does in that short track length. Element for element, pound for pound, this is probably better than the next 3 coasters, but to me, that length is something I can't overlook. The prime ride time experience doesn't even last 30 seconds, it's over in a flash. That being said, most airtime moments on this ride pop, in particular 3, and in general, it is a powerful ride experience. You can see my review for more, but here's a quick rundown of the layout. There's a great moment of air in the back on the first drop, and the subsequent dive loop can give good airtime in the front. The next hill gives airtime for all, and the subsequent drop can give good airtime for those in the back. Then the inversions at the end still have good pacing, even if they aren't as forceful. One last turn into the brakes, and you fly into the brake run. This ride is fast and furious, and every second on it is excellent. I'll let you watch my review for more in-depth details that'll be linked below, so for now, let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is Wonder Woman Flight of Courage at Six Flags Magic Mountain, the next generation Raptor coaster. This, among coaster enthusiasts, might be somewhat of a controversial pick. Is it as powerful as Railblazer through every single element? Well, no, but again, length is really important in my opinion, and this coaster definitely has more elements to it. It's got nearly double the track length at 3,300, and it stands 131 feet tall with a 58 mile an hour top speed. Like Railblazer, this ride features 3 inversions, and it focuses on some different, more elongated maneuvers. Comparatively to Railblazer, this does result in some weaker pacing, and it's definitely not as intense of a ride, but I think that's okay, and it makes up for it with the extra track length and more elements in general. And there are still some really good elements on this ride. That first drop is a great moment of air in the back, and in that back row, you really get pulled through the dive loop. The following camelback is an excellent, sustained moment of airtime. The following 0G stall provides that hang time that we love from RMC. After a turnaround and a drop, you go through the final inversion on the ride, a 0G roll. You then glide through the mid-course brakes. From my experience, it doesn't really slow you down. Then you have a low swooping turn before you begin the run towards the station. There are back-to-back airtime hills. None are extremely powerful, but it's still a fun way to end the ride. And then you slide into your brake run. I think Wonder Woman Flight of Courage's layout does a lot right. There are definitely some things that I think could be improved, but in general, it's still a very fun coaster. The extra track length puts it above Railblazer for me, but I know a lot of coaster enthusiasts would disagree with that. Number 2, Joker at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Joker was the first hybrid coaster I rode from this company, and it really opened my eyes to what this company could do, and I know that this is not their best stuff. Obviously, it's not even number 1 on this list. That being said, it does a lot of things right. I still prefer it to both of the single rail coasters that I've experienced, obviously, and I think there are a few reasons for that. One of them is the length. It's comparable in length to Wonder Woman, but I like some of the elements a bit more on Joker, and the train setup is more comfortable. Joker was a conversion from the old GCI wooden coaster, Roar, and this is a significant improvement. It has a length of 3,200 feet and a height of 100 feet with a speed of 53 miles an hour and 3 inversions. Like the other 2, it's modest in size and stats. But again, and I know I sound like a broken record, it's what they do within their layout. After a fun little pre-lift section and the lift hill itself, you have a very fun first drop that gives you some awesome airtime mixed with laterals. In the coaster world, that drop is underrated, and it leads you into the step-up underflip, a very unique inversion. This leads into a 0G stall. Not so original, but really well executed with great hang time. After a little step up and a right hand turn, you come to back bunny hills, each providing a little pop of air. After a left hand turn, you go through the double down, which on the second drop in particular, gives you some good airtime. Next, you turn to the right and set up for one of my favorite elements ever on a coaster, this 0G roll. RMC really knows how to do these, and you get some more hang time here. One more turn and one more airtime hill is all you got before the brakes. I think Joker does a nice job of varying its elements. The airtime might not be as strong as a ride like Railblazer, but the hang time is excellent. Not a lot of enthusiasts give this ride as much credit as it deserves. It's a really quality coaster, and by far the best at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. This was my #1 coaster for a little bit, but it has since been surpassed, though it may not be as far off as you might think from the #1 coaster on this list, and that of course is Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is another hybrid coaster, and in a lot of ways this project was a bit more of an undertaking for Rocky Mountain Construction. Not only were they a younger company at the time, but this was turning an old dueling wooden coaster in Colossus into a hybrid coaster. Unfortunately, Six Flags' operations makes it so you're not always guaranteed to duel. When you do duel, it's more fun. But even if you don't, you can still appreciate this ride's wide range of elements. Stat-wise, it's a little more impressive. 4,990 feet of track, a height of 121 feet, and a speed of 57 miles an hour, with just 2 inversions, one on each track. And of course, there are multiple moments designed just so you can take in that dueling feature, which is pretty neat. Starting on the blue side, let's dissect this thing. The first drop is excellent, and the speed hill following provides a little bit of airtime, and then the next camelback is another excellent moment of air. 3 great moments of airtime to start. Then you have the blue side of the high 5, which I think is the better side for this moment. After a drop all the way down to the ground, you approach an awesome camelback. More great airtime here, and then you approach another 0G roll. RMC just does these so well. Now the blue side concludes with a double up and an outward bank turn into the second lift hill. The second lift hill is kind of interesting because it not only slows you down halfway through so the other train can catch up, but it also is kind of a weird element for pacing purposes. That said, if it allows you to duel, it's worth it. The first 3 elements on the green track are just as good as the blue track, but then the next 2 aren't nearly as good for forces. That's okay though, because next up is the Top Gun stall, another excellent RMC stall, and the train, if you're dueling, goes underneath you. From here, you conclude the green side with a few more bunny hills. I think the blue side overall is my preferred side, but both have about half a minute of prime ride time, equaling 60 seconds in total, and I think Twisted Colossus does so many things right. Is it perfect? No, but it's made by man, so nothing really is. Twisted Colossus is the longest of the coasters we've talked about, and it has the most good elements. I think it edges out all of Six Flags Magic Mountain's other coasters as their #1, and in the context of this video, is the #1 RMC on the West Coast. So there you have it, the RMCs on the West Coast ranked from worst to best. If you couldn't tell, I love all of these rides, they're all excellent, and RMC really seems to be in a league of their own.